Welcome to this webinar exam session. We hope you get benefit of it. At the beginning, allow me to introduce my colleagues in the studio. Ms. Ula Al-Moui, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
English Language Supervisor, Tartus Directorate. And Ms. Maha Al-Jarkas.
Good morning.
Good morning, English Language Teacher, Damascus Directorate. And me, Abdul Majid Overly, Senior Supervisor and Coordinator at the National Center for Curricular Development. Thanks to Ms. Hibaid, the Director of our session, and thanks to Mr. Mahmoud Hamid, the Director of the platform. As a start, we're going to begin with Ms. Ula. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Next slide, Ms. Hiba.
We're going to start with the grammar with wish. We have 4 sentences. One of them is wish, when students are asked to rewrite the sentences given to them. When they have wish, they have to put in mind 2 steps that they should follow. Wish is the opposite of reality. So when we make a sentence wish, it should be the opposite of the sentence. So if it's negative, wish sentence should be positive. If the sentence is positive, wish sentence should be negative. And we go 1/10 back in the sentence. This way we have, for example, I'm late, I wish I wasn't late, or I wish I weren't late.
Or I was early.
Or I was early, of course, the opposite.
Next slide, Ms. Hiba and Ms. Maha Jarkas.
Yes.
Talk about in order to,
Thank you. In order to and to have the same function, and they are followed with the infinitive. Example, some people move to greener areas in order to survive. Survive is infinitive verb. Some people move to greener areas to survive. Because is followed with a clause, a subject and a verb. Example, Irish people immigrated because so many had died of starvation. So that is used to link actions with results, causes and effects. So that is followed with a clause, a subject and a verb. Farmers need more land so that they can grow more soya beans.
Thank you. Next slide, Ms. Hiba. Ms. Arla.
Now we have must be and can be. To differentiate between the two, must be, it means something we are sure is true.
Yes.
When we are sure that something is true, we use must be. Like she has 3 houses, she must be rich. When we're sure that it's not true, we use can't be. She always borrows money from her friends, she can't be rich.
Yes. Next slide, please, Ms. Hiba. The causative.
Yes, the causative is used, the causative verb have, of course, is used to say that someone had or...
Because you said this, thank you, we have more than have to use causative, but
Yes.
in the baccalaureate,
It's only have.
needed to use only have.
Yes. So it's used to say someone had or didn't have something done. This can be in the present or past or future. Examples.
Next slide, Ms. Hiba.
In the past, Samer didn't repair his car himself. The causative is Samer had his car repaired. Samer repaired his car himself. The causative is Samer didn't have his car repaired.
Yes.
Another example.
The slide before that, Ms. Hiba. Before that.
Yes, this can be in the present as well. Samer doesn't repair his car himself. The causative, Samer has his car repaired. Samer repairs his car himself. Samer doesn't have his car repaired.
It was not working. Okay. We had a problem with the mic. Do we need to repeat from the beginning? Okay. Technical problem with the voice.
Now we move on to reported speech. In the sentences, we have 4 sentences: wish sentences,
Yeah.
causative sentences, reported speech, and passive voice.
Yeah, these are very important.
Now we move on to
Next
the
slide,
reported
Miss.
speech.
Yes, Miss Hiba,
When we
thank you.
report speech, we should put in mind 3 steps.
Yeah.
We have to change the pronouns. When we say I, it turns to be he or she.
Mhm.
We must change the verb, it turns to the past, and we must change time expressions, like today has to be today, that day, or tomorrow, the next day, etc.
Everything near should be far.
Should be far.
Yeah.
For example, I'm hungry becomes he said he was hungry.
Mhm. We went one tense back, and we changed I to he.
Like everything, like you said, sir, everything near becomes far, like now becomes then, here, there, this, that.
Yeah. Next slide, Ms. Hiba.
Today, that day, tomorrow becomes the next day.
Yesterday, the day before.
This is with reporting sentences.
Yes.
Reporting questions.
Yes, when we have reported questions, of course, we have to remember that we have two kinds of questions.
Exactly.
WH questions and yes/no questions. When we have a WH question, it starts with a question word. He or she asked or wanted to know. If the auxiliary is do, does, or did, we drop it. Other auxiliaries go after the subject, like in the positive sentence, and we drop the question mark and put a full stop at the end of the reported question. If we have a direct question like, where do you live? The reported question is, he asked me where I lived. So we go one tense back and
yeah.
we drop yes, do, does,
Do.
or did, and we pay
Next
attention
slide,
to the
Ms. Hiba.
pronouns.
Yes, no questions, Ms. Ola.
With yes, no question, it's the same case, but in this case we don't have a question word, so we start with if or whether. Like, can you swim? He asked me if I could swim. Do you speak English? She asked me if I spoke English. Did you do your homework? He asked me if I had done my homework. Of course, we have to repeat the same steps, same 3 steps.
We go one tense back, but we
tense
use
back.
if here. Next slide, Ms. Hiba, the passive voice.
Yes,
Ms.
we
Ma.
use the passive voice when we don't know the subject or when we want to focus on the object because it's more important. And of course, there must be an object in the sentence. How do we change an active sentence into passive? We have steps. The first one is that we put the object at the beginning.
Yes.
We change the main verb to verb 3, which is the past participle. And the third step is between them, we put verb to be as follows.
Next, Ms. Hiba.
Here we have examples with the tenses. For example, with the present simple. With the verb to be in the present simple is, am, are, and it should be followed by past participle. For example, he eats an apple is eaten. Sam eats apples are eaten by Sam. With the simple past, verb to be is was or were, followed by past participle. He ate apples were eaten. In the present continuous, now verb to be should be being with is, are. So is, are being and past participle. He is eating an apple is being eaten. Tom was eating apples were being eaten by Tom. So they just need to follow the steps and it's very easy.
If the agent is important, we put it at the end of the sentence preceded with
By.
by. Next slide, Ms. Hiba, please. Continue.
Yes,
please,
we still
Ms.
have
Ma.
examples with the present perfect and past perfect. He has eaten apples. It becomes apples have been eaten. Sam had eaten an apple had been eaten by Sam.
Sam.
And with the future tense, the auxiliary verb, and with auxiliary verbs, it becomes be. He will eat apples will be eaten. Sam can eat a lot of apples can be eaten by Sam. Tom must eat apples must be eaten by Sam, and etc.
Okay, next slide, Ms. Hiba.
Now we move on to the use of the. Of course, because we mentioned the passive voice and you mentioned the agent, so we can use by with agent, and this can be used as a missing word. Now here the same with the is used as missing word. When do we use the? First of all, when there is only one. For example, we only have one sun, one moon, so we say the moon, the sun.
With a noun,
With
of
a noun.
which there is only one of it.
The second one, when the noun is by reason of locality considered one. Like, for example, when I have a classroom, there's only one door for the classroom, so the door, the teacher of the classroom, the prime minister. When it's mentioned for the second time, for example, I bought a car, the car is red.
Yeah.
when the noun which has become is defined by the addition of a phrase or a clause like the girl in blue, the man who answered the phone. So we are defining the noun. So in this case, we use the.
So we added something to make it clear, so it is definite now, and we used the with it. Next slide, Ms. Hiba. Ms. Maha, continue,
Yes.
please. With
We also
musical.
use the with musical instruments after the verb play. We say she plays the piano, and with superlatives, the best, the most. And with names of countries which consist of more than one word, like the United Kingdom, the United States, the United Arab Emirates.
Yes. Next slide, Ms. Hiba. A.
Now,
and
a
an.
or an. Of course, a or an are used in the same way and the in a different way. But a, how do we differentiate between a and an? We use a with consonants and with vowels. Vowels like a, o, e, like an apple, for example. Now, with singular countable indefinite nouns, of which there are more than one, and mentioned for the first time. He's a boy, it's an apple, I bought a car, I brought an umbrella. So when it's mentioned for the first time and there's more than one, we use a or an. With professions like he's a teacher, she's an engineer, we are, no, this is plural, he's a doctor, etc. To mean per, it means every, per, like 5 pounds a kilo. 50 kilometers an hour. So per means with meals, I had a delicious breakfast. I had an amazing
So
lunch, for
with
example.
meals, only when preceded with an adjective.
Adjective.
Because without an adjective, we don't use any article if it is in general.
I had
So
breakfast.
We had breakfast, but we had a delicious breakfast. Next slide, Ms. Hiba, please. Expressions
Yes.
of
Color idioms.
colors.
Yes. When he accused me of being wasteful, I saw red.
I felt angry.
Yes. We have to stop companies from polluting the environment. We should put them on the blacklist.
Put is not very
Yes.
clear because it is in different color.
Yes. They've given the green light to the building of a new incinerator. The rules clearly say that we must not leave rubbish outside our homes. Look, it's in black and white here. It's so clear. It's almost impossible to get a passport quickly. There is so much red tape. I heard this morning out of the blue that I'd won a writing competition.
Next slide, Ms. Hiba.
Now again, idioms. These things students need to memorize, and they might have them between brackets, for example. So they need to understand them. For example, when we say pick and choose, it means when you choose something from a different variety.
of things.
Like people came from far and wide to see the Umayyad mosque in the center of Damascus. Far and wide, it means from everywhere around the world. I love spending time with my nearest and dearest. These are close friends and family. So we often have family get-togethers. While I was on holiday, I bought lots of odds and ends of different things, of course. There are lots of restaurants near here. You can pick and choose. This one is, we have a lot, big variety. Some people enjoy the hustle and bustle of shopping. In street markets, hustle and bustle, it means noisy
Noise.
and many people and etc. So they just need to understand the meaning.
Yeah. Next slide, Ms. Hiba, please. Phrasal verbs. This is something important as well.
Yes, phrasal verbs are verbs which are followed by prepositions, and here we have three-part phrasal verbs, which mean that we have a verb and two prepositions. We have to pay attention to the prepositions because they change the meaning of the basic verb. We have keep up with, looking forward to, run out of, cut down on, put up with, come up against. A, things are moving so fast, it's impossible to keep up with the changes. B, supermarkets should cut down on packaging. C, we've come up against serious problems in our plan to recycle rubbish. D, I'm looking forward to the day when 100% of our rubbish is recycled. E, scientists have just come up with a new way of reprocessing plastic. F, people living near the bus station put up with a lot of noise. G, we run out of space to use as landfill sites.
Next slide, Ms. Hiba, please. We continue.
Again, three-part phrasal verbs. In the cities, in my city, the council is running out of. We have no more space for new houses. Run out of. Our town is trying hard to cut down on, to reduce the amount of waste it buries in the ground. Students should read newspaper to make sure they keep up with, know the latest information, national and international news stories. I'm looking for a new flat I can't put up with, I can't tolerate, I can't stand the noise of the traffic any longer. Again, they just need to understand what they're reading, and they're going to have it this way, between brackets.
The choice is going to be from the context.
Exactly.
From
they
the
need
meaning.
to understand the meaning.
Here we have the meaning of these phrasal verbs.
I've just mentioned them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next slide, Ms. Hiba. Make. We have two confusing verbs, make and do.
Make and do, yes.
In brief, if I say something, if we make something from something else, we use make. We use make with decisions from the mind or expressions from the mind. But when it is only just movement or doing something with some movement, we use do. But mostly students need to learn these words with how they usually come so that they know how to use them in the exam. Miss Maha?
Yes, Ibrahim usually arrives at work on time, so his boss didn't know what to make of it when he was an hour late one morning. At first, he thought he might make up an excuse, but decided he must be honest. Ibrahim promised he would make up for the time he had lost by being late. Here we have their meanings.
Next slide, Ms. Hiba.
Make up, think about or understand. Make up, invent a story. Make up for, replace something lost or missing.
Yeah, next slide, Ms. Hiba. Do or make.
Now here, students need to differentiate between the use of do and make. They just need to repeat to memorize it. For example, the journalist, after of course understanding the way you have just mentioned, the journalist said he was doing research for an article. So do research. We have do with research for an article. Scientists frequently do experiments. Experiments is just moving things together to test their ideas. You will have to make effort, make special effort if you want to pass your exam. So make effort. Can I suggest? Can I make a suggestion? Can I make a suggestion? Why don't we do the shopping together? If you make a mistake, you have to do your homework again. I've made my decision very carefully. I've made myself a promise, so made a promise. I'm going to make a success of my new job. Last night's storm did a lot of damage, so did damage to building in our area. So after they read the sentences this way, they can have a box or something like the following one.
Yes. Next slide, Ms. Hiba. Phrasal verbs again with do.
With their meanings, yes. I've hurt my back, which means I have to get someone to do my shoes up for me. The phrasal verb here is do up, which means fasten or tie. B, the doctor told my grandmother she'd have to learn to do without sugar. Do without means not have something and manage in spite of this. C, we'll have to do the room up before anyone sleeps there. So do up have two meanings. The first one is fasten or tie, and the second one is to tidy or redecorate. D, not everyone in our family has a mobile, so we can't do away with our landline. We can't get rid of our landline. Yes. We have a question from Roshna Hassan. Can you talk about the missing word again?
Yes, the missing words are functional words. We mean by functional, they can be either auxiliary verbs or articles or pronouns or possessive adjectives, not full verb and not nouns, not adjectives. You need to know them by context or through context from your earlier experience, because we don't have any rule to say what to put. But while you read the texts, while you read the textbook, you can know which one is missing. For example, if I read, the doctor told me my grandfather she'd have to learn to do without. And in the exam, the same sentence came without do, for example. So you know which one to put. Or sometimes the can be missing. That is very important. Or a. Be after can. They might write
Can
in the
be,
exam.
will be.
Can be. So we can delete the can and leave be, or the opposite.
Relative pronouns.
Passive voice
Relative
by,
pronouns.
when we mention the agent, but by,
Yes.
Yes, before the agent.
who, which, when, etc. Now we have what we have just mentioned, the do and make, do research, do experiments, do the shopping, make efforts, so they just need to memorize it this way.
Okay. The next slide, Ms. Hiba, making questions.
Yes. There are two main kinds, yes-no questions and WH questions. Here for the baccalaureate students, yes-no questions aren't required. So all the questions
They need to write WH questions in the dialogue.
Yes, the yes-no questions need the answer yes or no. Was the restaurant bill high? No, it wasn't. Have you ever learned to play a musical instrument? Yes, I have. Did you enjoy your holiday? Yes, it was very relaxing. With WH questions, we need more information in the answer. It uses a question word, and we have to decide which word we need to use. What is your job? I'm a university professor. If the sentence is, I'm going out with my parents, the question will be, what are you doing at the weekend? And if we have a sentence like, I have to be there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we can ask, what time do you have to be there?
Yes. Next slide, please.
Now, so to make questions, we need first to decide what the question word is, then choose the auxiliary verb. If we have verb to be, verb to have, just invert. So they come first, then we have the subject and the rest of the sentence. So question word, auxiliary verb, subject, then you can have the rest of the sentence. Here we have a question words, like who, we use who with people, what for things, of course you can read the examples, which when we ask about a limited number of things or items, whose for position, whose car is this, whose book is this. When we ask about time, where, place, why, reason, when we ask about the reason, why did you do that, why did you call me. How about manner, how do you turn on the computer, how long, it's about a period of time. How many when we ask about an exact amount of something. How much when we, it's not an exact amount, it's uncountable. How much sugar do you need? How often when there is a frequency, for example, every week, on Monday, usually, etc.
Next slide, please. Yes, no questions.
Yes. Questions are made in two different ways in English grammar, depending on the verb. First, we can change the position or invert the verb and the subject. This is used for the auxiliary verbs and for modal verbs. I am married. Are you married? No, I am not. Or yes, I am.
Next slide, yes.
We add an extra word like do, does, or did when we don't have an auxiliary in the sentence. This is used when there is no auxiliary. We said, what's your name? My name is Tony.
WH questions, Ms. Ola.
Now with WH questions, after we finish the steps she has just mentioned, we put the WH word, like are they getting married next month? We omit the next month and use when are they getting married.
Next slide. Right questions. These are examples of writing questions in the exam. Where was the family standing? The family was standing by the side of the road. She has been working since 8 o'clock this morning. How long? So when we have a period of time, we use how long. And when it is in the past, we use did. They left the camp to climb the summit on May the 28th. When did they leave? At the end of the session, I hope our students got benefit of it. Thank you so much. And I want to thank my colleagues, Ms. Ola Al-Mouay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Thank
English
you.
Language Supervisor, Tartus Directorate. Ms. Maha Jerkas, English Language Teacher, Damascus Directorate. This is me, Abdul Majid Overly, Senior Supervisor and Coordinator in the National